listening to the Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and joining me, as he does always, unless he's got something better to do, which sometimes happens, it's Joe Dilworth. Joe, hello, sir.
Hello. Sorry, I was watching the Dune trailer yet again for the 100th time.
Yet again for the 100th time. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. We're gonna definitely have to get into that. It's gonna be a Dune centric episode probably because there's a lot of stuff to unpack in the trailer.
Yes.
And it's a big book, as you know. It's an epic tale, and that movie part 1 is coming out in October, right? So
it is. But yeah, no, I'm doing well. I'm doing great. How are you? How are you?
Good,
sir?
Good. Thanks. And as to start off, we should always talk about the places to find the show on Stitcher and on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and places like that. And if you want to rate the show on Apple Podcasts, that would be really helpful and appreciative.
Yes.
Appreciated, not appreciative. Or it would be appreciative on your part and helpful and appreciated on our part.
Yes. And, if you want to throw a few bucks at us, too, we also have a Patreon. You could hit us up on there and stuff. That would be cool.
And stuff, yeah. And again, the money goes to a good cause. It does not go...
goes to production. It does not go to the talent, so...
The talent, whenever they get here.
Whenever we actually bring some talent on board. But
well, some of our guests have been really talented, amazing people, and we're going to have more guests coming up in the future. But we wanted to talk about, it's hard to talk about some specific things with people. You'd have to bring in like an expert on Loki or something, or a Marvel expert.
Right.
So we're just kind of carrying it ourselves for a while. But we'll definitely have people come back and talk about stuff as things progress. But today, damn it, there's a new Dune trailer, and it's, I don't know, I hate to use the word epic, but it's pretty epic.
It is. I'll say this: all the things I was seeing previously, and not just the, I guess, teaser trailer, but some of the production stuff, I was like, oh, hey, you know what? This might actually be really cool. But I will say this, if I was not on board before, this trailer sold it pretty big. That was
Do you think it did?
Yeah. I liked it. Well, it got into the story more, so I guess that's probably the better way to say it.
Here's my question about the trailer. I don't know that was the best way to sell. Well, I mean, I'll make this a sort of a two-parter. I don't know that was the best way to sell Dune, the movie. Although I don't know of a better way, because how do you make a super, dense story like Dune, a huge book? How do you make that palatable for the masses? Because you kind of have to in a way. So this trailer, I think, is cut towards more general audiences. Yeah, you've heard of Dune, right? And there's like Sam, but it's got this Jason Momoa guy, because it does feature Jason Momoa a lot.
It's got Aquaman in it. Why would you not want to watch it?
It's pretty prominent, yeah. Well, is that a coincidence that it's also Warner? It's not a coincidence, but
no.
I don't want to call those things out, but he is Aquaman. He is starting to film Aquaman now, and Aquaman is a DC, which is part of Warner Brothers, and Dune is Warner Brothers. So yes, he's being featured prominently in this trailer, and there's definitely some comedic moments in this epic tale of betrayal and destruction that I don't really remember from the book, but that's okay. The book is not as funny as the movie, apparently.
You gotta punch it up a little bit, right? I mean, come on.
You gotta punch. I want to be the guy who came and did, okay, now we've got this really great script for Dune. Now we need the comic pass. We need the humor pass to the script. So the humor writers come in and throw in some one-liners so Jason Momoa can go, oh, you got some muscle. And he's like, really? He's like, no.
Well,
maybe classic Momoa.
Maybe they have Tarantino do a punch up, so at some point, when they're in the desert, they start talking about ancient Doctor Strange comic books for no reason.
There you go, ancient Doctor Strange comic. But no, they couldn't do that because it's a Warner Bros. So
that's right. Yeah,
remember that Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds? Man, that really sucked.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's going to be. Yeah. But it's weird. They got characters from all over. They got Aquaman. They got Thanos in this thing. They've got what's his face from Star Wars.
Right. It's a hell of a cast. That's for
Poe
sure.
Dameron. Yeah. And they got the girl from Mission Impossible, Rebecca Ferguson.
Right. Yes.
And Timothy Chalamet. I don't know how to say it.
Chalamet.
I liked. Okay, there's no way that you can't watch this and then think about the David Lynch or Alan Smithy versions of Dune from the past, because I thought of all the things that did work in the David Lynch movie, and there were some things that worked. It was just weird, which was helpful because Dune is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I thought Kyle MacLachlan did a really good job. So it's hard to watch this and go, man, I don't know, how's Timothy going to compare to Kyle? because I always liked Kyle MacLachlan's characterization of Paul. I thought he did a really good job in the movie, the original movie. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw Batista, though, I'm like, I'm sold. I'm here. I'm here for Batista as Beast or
Yeah.
Bond. So.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think my biggest concern, and I'll say up front, maybe I should start out with this. I've not read the books. Honestly, I have not. And I tried a couple times to read the first Dune, and it didn't catch me. I am going to go back.
It's a lot.
I am going to go back to revisit it because here's why. It took me about 3 or 4 attempts to read Game of Thrones, and I absolutely love those books now and the whole series. So I feel that I should give it another attempt and try to get into it because, I mean, there's like 20 some books now. I guess really the ones written by Frank Herbert are the ones you should read, but I definitely want to try again on the first book. However, I will say that based on all the other versions that have been in live action, the part of this I think I was most concerned about was I feel like, and maybe this is only, again, I'm just going on what I've seen and not read, I thought they cast really young for Paul and Channy. And I was like, ooh, are they going to be able to pull this off? And those fears are gone after this trailer. So
No, I think they both. I mean, the only thing I had against, I don't really have anything against Timothy Chalamet, is that he's not Kyle MacLachlan. But I can put that away, and it's fine. And looking at him in this movie, I think it works with. They work fine together, and I think that Zendaya's going to be great. As Shani. Yeah, I mean, I think that the casting is really good. It's just I'm just kind of making fun of it a little bit because I'm a Marvel fan as you are, and so seeing Thanos and Poe Dameron, and it's like it's hard not to. And Jason Momoa, Gurney cracking jokes. Oh no, he's not Gurney.
No, he's Duncan. It's like let's highlight the people right?
Well,
from these billion-dollar movies we've done.
We've got people in our movie who are from billion-dollar franchises. Look, everybody.
Because I mean, you do get a shot of Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Harkonnen, but not much. I don't even think I've seen it enough times now, but I don't think you even get a shot of Javier Bardem.
You see him in like a wide shot when he first meets the Fremen, when he and Jessica are in the desert, and there's like the wide shot, and you can see Javier Bardem has still got like kind of in the background there, but he's there. You can tell.
Right.
I mean, you can tell. I know the book really well, so I know what's happening in that scene. So I know that he's there, and so I can point him out to you. But yeah, he goes by pretty fast. But he's not a big name. I mean, I love Javier Bardem, but he's not a name. I mean, Chalamet is for the kids, and Zendaya for the kids, and then you've got all these people from big franchises. I'm wondering though. I'm actually wondering if some of this was just trailer only, like the joke with him and Paul, like with his joke, like he grew some muscle. I wonder if that's actually in the movie at all. I wonder if it's.
I bet it will be. I mean, apparently the script was Villeneuve punched up the story quite a bit from what I understand.
Because one thing Dune is missing is story.
Well, I mean, so like he did. So from what I'm reading is he kind of shifted kind of how the female characters are in the movie because Lady Jessica is also a fighter in this one, more of a kind of a warrior priestess thing instead of a space nun like she has been portrayed before.
She fights in the book.
Okay. See,
I think watching this is more the characterization is probably more true to the book. Like in David Lynch's version, Jessica was not as tough. But in the book, she's tough. I mean, she went through the whole Bene Gesserit shit, and they don't fuck around. They will kill a motherfucker. They have no problem. They're good fighters. They're good at mental, the voice and all that. They have powers. They're like Jedi basically. And let's be honest, the giant influence Dune had on George Lucas with Star Wars. I mean, half of more, a lot of the stuff in Star Wars is directly from Dune, basically, like sandworms and Tatooine and Jedi and spice.
Smuggling spice.
Yeah. So. The fact that this stuff, that's the funny thing. People are going to watch this and go, wow, what a ripoff of Star Wars, man.
Yeah, really, man. They really pulled from Star Wars in this.
What a bunch of dicks, man.
Other way around, friends.
But this, I've been waiting for, I mean, I don't remember. The book came out in the '60s, so I don't remember
Yeah.
when I first read it. I must have been probably in the '70s, and it's a hard book for a kid. It's like Lord of the Rings. It is dense. There's a lot of shit going on, and I didn't understand a lot of the references because a lot of the characters do drugs in the book. So it's like spice is a drug. It's like I get high and have visions in the desert.
Melange, and
You
you
know,
can travel vast
could fold
distances in
space.
space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, a lot of the characters in the book, like I said, they take the spice and they have trips and they trip out. Like Frank Herbert was a notorious LSD fan, I think. So maybe that's somebody else I'm thinking of. I don't want to slander the Herbert name, so I shouldn't say that for sure. I should look that up and make sure. But there's a lot of drug use in the book for sure, and so that's the kind of thing that I was concerned about too, because Paul has visions. I've been seeing visions about a girl, which is sort of a funny thing for him to say, but it's actually a Timothy Chalamet thing to say. So a girl on Arrakis. So I don't know. I'm optimistic. It looks amazing, and I know the soundtrack is going to. Denis. Fuck. Why can I never get this guy's name right? Villeneuve. Anyway,
Yeah.
the director
Helen
is definitely
Smithy.
Alan. No, is definitely a visual guy, and he will do a great job. The movie's going to look amazing. There's no doubt. It already looks amazing in the trailers. The whole thing looks amazing, and I love the fact that they're emphasizing back to like the personal combat aspects because they don't have like blasters. They fight with
Yes.
knives because they all have force fields, and the shields can explode if there's like too much energy around, and so it's like this whole thing, which I love the fact they're. I feel like it's going to go back and be more true to the novel, which is good. It needs that, and that's probably why it's
Yeah.
split into two movies because the novel is huge.
Very much
And
a
it's just
lack of computers and robots and things like that as originally intended. But
Well, yeah. I mean, if you know the history in the book, it's like they fought a whole war about machines,
yeah,
basically.
right,
And so now they have the mentats, which are the human computers. They don't have computers. They have
right.
people that think really fast. Like what's his face, Dash Malian. I can't remember how to say his name either. But he plays Piter DeVries, which is the mentat for Baron Harkonnen. I don't know who plays Thufir. I don't know who the actor is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I mean, it does matter, but I can't remember. But
Yeah, I don't know. But and obviously they have, elements of the trailer that resonate with what's going on today about, persecution and, save the planet and things like that. So, I think this trailer was skillfully crafted to appeal to audiences in general that maybe were like, Dune, I don't know anything about that. Then they watch the trailer and like, I mean, I think you from this trailer get the gist of what the story is about, and that's kind of cool. And I like the line. I'm assuming it's in the book too about hey, you're called to be a leader, but if you say no, you're still the only thing you ever need to be, my son. It's like that was a
yeah,
nice,
that sounds familiar. I mean, that
yeah.
sounds like something that Leto would say to Paul. I mean, he never really. I think Leto knew that he was, not going to run things forever. But yeah, it's good that they are obviously spending a lot of time doing the research and bringing it back to its roots. But I mean, the book was a very pro environmental book even back in the day. It was like one of the first like pro environment sci-fi books, and so I mean.
I
It
get
makes
the
sense.
feeling from
And also, it makes sense that they would continue that. Or also,
yeah.
I'm sorry, it makes sense that they would continue that, but also that they would do, more of a, messing with the indigenous people. It makes it relevant for
Yeah.
today. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It does.
I get the feeling from all the versions I've seen, obviously, again, not having read the book, but that Leto Atreides kind of, like you said, had it in his head that my days are numbered. Stuff is in motion, and I'm being kind of sent to this place to do an impossible task. I'm probably not going to make it out of this, but I'm going to make sure my kid survives.
Right,
At least that's the
exactly.
impression I got from the performances and the story in the Lynch's version. I think a little bit, but especially the sci-fi TV miniseries that they did, which was exceptional. I thought they did two of them. They did one on the first book and then one that combined, I think, Children of Dune and Chapter House of Dune. That was really well done. But yeah, no, I think from, it just seems to me that Leto knew I'm not going to probably leave this planet alive, but I'm going to, appeal to Lady Jessica to save my son. So,
Well, he knows it's. I mean, it's a trap basically because the
Yeah,
Harkonnens aren't going to give up the planet without a fight. But they leave because the Emperor, says you need to move. I mean, there's a whole political aspect to the book. They don't talk about. Obviously, they don't show in the trailer too much, but with the Landsrat and with all the all the great
yeah,
houses, etc. But yeah, the Harkonnens are not going to give up the spice, the trade, and all that money and all that power for without a fight. So, and as you can see from the trailer, a fight comes.
yeah,
It's no surprise. Um, but that's it's sort of interesting how, I mean, I don't want to spoil the book or the movie, but it's interesting how Paul sort of and Jessica kind of like become the leader of the insurgents in a way, right? So
right, right.
then and they're able to, anyway. I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but I don't
Well,
know if there's people listening to this show who've never read Dune or watched any Dune movies. It's hard to believe, but
I know. Well,
but
and
but in this day and age, I hate to spoil things, but yeah, I mean that's what happens. Paul, and
yeah,
becomes leader of the Fremen. He becomes Paul Muad'Dib and whatever, and he becomes and the Fremen work with House Atreides, and they have a big
yeah,
war, and they fight with the Harkonnens. In the Sardaukar because the Emperor's a total piece of shit too, and it's like a whole thing. But anyway,
yeah. Because it always seemed like Leto and House Atreides was like the last, like, decent leader and decent house, and he was trying. Leto was like, I'm sent to do this thing, and I know the way the Emperor, just wants me to go in and wipe people out, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it the right way for everybody, and of course that's his undoing. But the kind of the man that he's helped his kid be, allows Paul to become Muad'Dib and actually basically unite House of Atreides and the Fremen and all this kind of stuff. So
yeah, he becomes a rebel. He becomes a rebel leader. He becomes Che
yeah,
Guevara. No, I don't know,
yeah.
but
He's Luke Skywalker, but
he's Luke Skywalker. Yeah, kind of. I mean,
yeah,
he leads the rebels. I mean, it's kind of funny, but yeah.
yeah. So
He comes from a nice water planet from Caladan. It's not a desert planet. So.
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, yeah, Jessica, I think will definitely be more prominent in this in her role as not only
Shawnee definitely. I mean,
not only as Paul's mom, but as a Bene Gesserit and also a fighter, because she contributes a lot during the book to help Paul. But I mean, he's still the guy who becomes the leader of everything.
spiced cheeses. No, just
I
kidding.
wonder, I wonder if they'll keep the thing where, well, there's a whole thing in the book where he and Shawnee have anyway, it doesn't matter. But I wonder if they'll keep that. But that'll be in the second. That'll be in the second movie. We'll never know, really, because Shawnee and Paul don't end up together necessarily.
Right. So because they're
Sorry,
doing two
spoilers.
movies, I think we're going to get a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, like I still want to see Lynch's 3-hour version that he had for his version of Dune. I guess he shot like 5 hours of footage, and his preferred cut was like 3 hours, and they're like, yeah, no, there's no way that's going to theaters, and so it got kind of.
Yeah, I feel like that's out
out.
there. I mean, they also did the TV version with animation and with a narration, and of which, of course, Lynch took his name off of. That's the Alan Smithy cut. But
Yes.
I feel like I've seen that longer version around. I mean, it's probably on Blu-ray. It's probably out there somewhere, I would imagine.
Yeah, I need to find that because that would be interesting. I know there was rumors that they're like, oh yeah, Lynch has a 6 or 7 hour version. And it's like, no.
Bring back the Lynch cut.
Yes, there we go. Let's see the Lynch cut. But
Show
again,
show us the Lynch cut, you cowards.
that one was. Here's the weird thing about Lynch's, and I like Lynch. I think we've talked about that before. Yeah, we did a whole episode.
The whole episode about David Lynch. Yeah.
His version of Dune, and I know this is weird to say this because I've never read the book, but it just didn't, in tone and visuals, it didn't feel right for the story. It just was like, I'm going to do basically my version of Metropolis and kind of sandwich in this book into it, right?
Yeah.
And it just was more, again, I know a lot was cut out because of runtime and what the studio wanted, but it just felt like there wasn't a lot of heart to it, I guess. I don't know, it just felt like they were kind of going through it to do it. And there's some great performances in it, a lot of really cool people in it who went on to do many great things.
Yeah.
It just didn't. It was. I guess it was one of those things where it just didn't add up in the end to something that was really good.
Yeah, I always felt like David Lynch needs to be. It felt uninspired. It felt like he was
Yeah,
just he didn't know what he was getting into maybe, and decided during the movie making process that it wasn't for him, but he
yeah,
kind of did it anyway. I also always felt like there was too much sort of Lynchian tropes to the movie. There was too much like weird shit for the. I mean, the book is weird enough. It doesn't need extra weird stuff, and he kind of missed the whole. I don't know. It just yeah, you're right. I agree with you. It's not a great movie. I mean, it's not a great movie or a great adaptation of the book at all.
yeah,
It's okay, but there are definitely some standout things. Like I always liked Kyle MacLachlan. I thought he did a really good job as
yeah.
Paul.
No, there's
Even
Patrick Stewart was great in it. I mean,
Patrick Stewart. Yeah, come on, forget about it.
yeah,
But yeah, it didn't quite work for me. And plus, it's hard to sandwich. Yeah, it's hard to put that much stuff into a 2 hour movie. It's
yeah.
just not possible. I don't think it can be done as that kind of movie. A miniseries was a lot smarter, and I'm still sort of skeptical about just 2 movies because you're still going to miss a lot. You're talking about a
Sure.
huge novel, but you can hit the high points. I mean, there are a lot of high points. There are a lot of plot points that you can get. And in the book, there's a lot of side stories and whatever that you don't necessarily, I guess finding which parts are the most important is the hard part, right? So
Well, it's 2.5 hours long, and if the second one is that much, or
it's
3 hours,
yeah.
then
So
it's quite a lot. But yeah, no, I kind of I really liked the sci-fi miniseries because they got to tell. It had room to breathe. It got to tell more of the story, I felt, and it was just really well done. And it wasn't. I know the trailer plays up, a lot of the fighting and battles and explosions and stuff, but it always struck me as a story that wasn't really about that. I mean, I know there is obviously big battles and stuff in it, but that's not that to me. That never felt like the point of the story, and that was just like that happened because that's where the story led. I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly. So it's not like it's a big space battle, space war movie. It's more.
it's not like a Star Wars.
Yeah, it's not a Star War. It's
Well, there aren't a lot. If I can, I don't think there's any space battles in the book at all.
Right.
It's all
Right.
ground war. It's all ground fighting. Because again, they don't have lasers and blasters. I mean, they do
Yeah.
have they do have lasers and they have atomic weapons. But they don't even have, they don't have computers.
Do they have the voice laser thing like in the David Lynch movie? Is that from the book?
No, they have the voice, and they have the thing where, no, that device is not. The weirding modules are not in
Yeah.
the book.
I always thought that was weird in that movie. I'm like, so
Well, the weirding way is a thing in the book, but it's not that at all. It's basically they wanted some kind of cool visual blaster to sell it for toys, probably.
Right.
But this, I mean, that's why, at least in this trailer, I'm like, oh, they're doing a lot of like hand-to-hand combat, which is kind of what they do in the book. Because again, everyone has personal body shields. Everything, all the ships have shields. The houses have shields. And if you shoot a laser at a shield, it blows up. And that's actually something that happens in the book later. It can blow up. And so the fact that they're fighting hand to hand with knives, I mean, everyone does knife fighting. I mean, they show a couple of scenes in the trailer where Paul is learning how to fight. You know, I mean, he does that. That's what he does. The slow blade penetrates the shield or something. That's like a thing that comes back later to haunt people. But yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing is basically Paul becomes I always forget. I always have trouble pronouncing it. The Kwisatz Haderach, right? That becomes the super being, like Superman, the Ubermensch.
yes.
He basically becomes this super powerful creature, person,
Well,
whatever. And that the whole story is that. And so a lot of other things have to happen for him to get to that point where he can be,
that's good to know because
Paul.
that's like one of the parts, like in the Lynch movie, like they spend an inordinate amount of time on his training on hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
For him to wind up using this voice-activated laser gun. I'm like, what? Why was
That whole scene at the beginning of David Lynch's Dune where Paul is training, that's so you can meet everybody, right? That's the meet cute scene. Here's Gurney. I recognize you, Gurney, and you, Thufir. And he's like naming people so you know who the characters are.
And here's Patrick Stewart.
And here's Patrick Stewart as Gurney Halleck. Yeah. Get your get your guitar, Gurney.
Yeah, I mean, I
Sing
guess
me a
there is
song.
the climatic knife fight with Sting, but still, I'm
Right.
like, is that the only reason he learned this is so he can have that one fight? But he's going to rely on
Well,
voice
that does happen.
lasers
That does
otherwise.
happen. He
Okay.
does fight.
No, I get it,
He does
but
fight Fade in the book too.
yeah, no, I understand that, but it was just like
I think
it
the whole thing was the excuse to get Sting to take his shirt off. That's all.
probably
Let's oil him up a bit. I mean,
yes,
he was like the sex symbol of the movie, right? I remember all
yes.
the ladies in the audience were like, "Oh my goodness, Sting without a shirt, so attractive."
And I think they spent way too much time making Baron Harkonnen really as gross as possible in
Well,
Lynch's
his
movie.
his evil inside of him was rotting him outside too, right?
Yes,
I mean, he looks
yes,
pretty. He looks deformed. I mean, in the book, he's gigantic and flies around on suspensors. So in the trailer, I love that scene where he's like rising up with the whole thing following
yes,
behind. That was a
yeah.
really cool. I know that Stellan Skarsgård is going to do a kick-ass job
Oh
as
yeah, he's
Harkonnen.
awesome. Because I just watched him again in the Avengers, and he was great
Oh
in
yeah,
that
that's right.
too.
We talk about the Avengers in a minute,
Yeah.
but yeah, watching this trailer, I did not see one thing that I didn't like. I mean, I can even handle the comedy because I understand you can't make a totally down, you know,
Yeah.
movie for if you're really making a true David Lynch, or I'm sorry, a true Dune movie, then it is going to be a downer because there's a lot of bad things that happen to everybody. A
Right.
lot of
Right.
characters don't survive. Shit goes bad. So I understand that they have to market it like this, and it makes sense to put your big name front man with your new tentpole superhero movie that's coming out later up front. Because people like the Jason Momoa. People love him.
Yes.
He's awesome. I would like to hang out with him and have a Guinness. He seems like a great guy. So, and he appeals to men and women, right? So why not have him?
Exactly.
In fact, in that one scene where he's like talking to the Timothy Chalamet, you have everybody.
Yeah.
You have
That's
every
true.
person in the audience is satisfied by that one scene right there because you have all the fans of him and all the fans of Momoa. You have everybody who's satisfied, men and women.
That
It satisfies everybody. So
that's got to be. I mean, people are probably like, I think it's a dynamic trailer to begin with, and people are like kind of pulled in, and then that part with Jason Momoa, they're like, "Yep, definitely buying a ticket now." So, I mean,
yeah,
it serves its purpose well, but I think it gives good idea of the story though, which I really like.
it does, but it doesn't give away too much. But I
No,
think like I said, the book is from the '60s, so if you don't know the story of what happens in Dune in some general way, then where have you been living? Because there's been
right.
the books have been around for 50 years or whatever, 40 years, and there's been at least a movie already and two miniseries, and there's been a lot of stuff around, but there are probably people who've never heard of it. Like, what's
Yes.
Dune? That looks like Star Wars. They're always joking about that, but it's true. There are people who are mad because this looks like it ripped off Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. There will be, yeah, and
There will be people
that'll
mad
be
online
fine.
because of that. It will
Yeah,
be, and then you'll try to tell them, "No, man, this came out long ago." It's like, no, no, that's not true. But
yeah,
because the internet is a cesspool. But there you go.
yeah. But and also know that they are doing a kind of prequel TV series on HBO Max, Dune: The Sisterhood, about the Bene Gesserit. So
Actually, that sounds. I'm cool with that. I like
I'm
the
up.
bit.
I'm over. You see,
If
they could do the same thing with Dune that they are doing with Marvel. You could do adaptations of the books,
yeah,
large scale in movies, and then fill in the details with TV series.
well, we'll see how this movie does
Yeah.
because I would make the case that if I were making Dune as a movie, one of my biggest challenges would not be to realize the visuals because today you can do anything. It would be how do I take this story of like rooting for the rebels, basically rooting for the insurgents, and this whole idea of psychedelics and this whole idea of environmentalism and this whole idea of preserving what we have and not destroying everything and generally being a good person, not an asshole. How do I translate that for the world, right?
Right.
Because it's in some ways it's a universal story. I mean, people struggle over the world, but you're also talking about a lot of other things that are kind of uniquely, maybe not uniquely American, but sort of partially American too. And so, how do you take this really dense amount of information where, in a great portion of the book, Paul is tripping balls, he's like on drugs, having like,
Yes.
all kinds of shit.
You get
So it's
blue
like,
eyes from it, though. That's kind of cool.
if you take too much spice, you do. Yeah, you become like the
Yeah.
Fremen. But so it's like, that's a challenge. And so that's going to be there. But yeah, you
How
have
do
to
you
make
update
things
it for
yeah, you have to make things
nowadays?
accessible to modern audiences, but also, and I think the thing that we're talking about with this trailer, the thing that does probably the best is to make it like, oh, this is a movie that everyone can watch. It's not just about,
Yeah.
it's not just about those things. It's fun. There's jokes, but all the jokes take place at Caladan, in the first 5 minutes, and then it's not funny anymore.
And may have already been cut from the movie. Who knows? But
Well, that's in the extended 3 hour, 4 hour version. But it's like, you need to. The trailer serves a different purpose, right? The trailer's not the movie. The trailer is, here's a movie you have to see. You must see.
they have not
so,
shot the second one yet, right? They didn't do them back to back or anything like that.
I thought they did, actually.
Maybe they did. Okay.
Well, I don't know. COVID messed everything up, so who knows?
Oh, right.
And now we're, speaking of COVID, now we're back in level red here in the Austin area. So that's
California is all imploding as well. So
Yeah,
good
that's
on
not-
that. Well done.
Yeah, I won't get into that, but damn, that sucks. Anyway,
I'll just say go get vaccinated. Anyway.
go get vaccinated.
And
Yeah,
I
don't be an
understand.
asshole.
So here's my caveat to that, and I won't talk too long about this. I understand, and I totally get that there are a percentage of people that can't get vaccinated for one reason or another, and I totally get that, and I'm not directing that towards them. If it is not medically feasible for you to get vaccinated, I feel for you, and I think that's sad. And absolutely, let's make accommodations for that, which is why even if you're vaccinated, wear a mask. So come on.
Right, agree.
So but for those that can get vaccinated, those are the folks we're asking you to help protect and help take care of by getting vaccinated. Right. So this goes away, right? So
right, or it's not, I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to go away, honestly.
No, it won't. But if we can downplay it and make it so it is only just a really bad flu and not deadly, then by all means we should do that. So
Man, the flu kills people, man. Come on.
If you're able to get vaccinated because it protects and helps take care of the people that aren't able to. So
right, it makes perfect sense to me. It's logical and it's compassion based and kindness based, but not everybody functions that way. So
right, exactly.
Unfortunately, they're ruining it for everybody else. Anyway,
that's all I'll say about that.
That's relevant. That's relevant to our discussion because
Yes.
Dune will be in the theaters, and you and I have always talked about how that is a movie that would get us back to the theater, probably. More than likely. But now, I don't know. Now, am I going to watch it at home? Maybe. I'm really leaning towards staying home, which sucks.
Exactly. Which is in a twist. I thought they had figured out that it wasn't going to be on HBO Max right away, but apparently it is simultaneously on HBO Max and theaters.
Yeah, it's day and day for sure. So.
But you're right. I'm now rethinking that. I'm like, there's a bunch of idiots. Fortunately, Oregon is not so bad. We have a high rate of vaccinations, and our new cases and new deaths are very low. So
that's good. That's good.
There's a good chance that by October I'll feel okay going to see this in the theater, because I really want to see this in the theater, especially after watching that trailer.
I would like to experience it first in a theater. However, that said, I will watch it at home if I feel it's not safe, and then later, I'm sure it'll be in the theater and I can watch it again. But
exactly.
And I'm sure this will be a movie that I'll watch more than once.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it'll be 2 or 3 times, if time permitting. Like I've watched his other movies, the director's other movies, many times.
I kind of feel like
I don't know why I always like, if Sicario is playing, I just watch that. I don't know why I like Sicario so much. It's just a cool movie. But
do you know if the HBO Max release is going to be a paid one like Black Widow was on Disney Plus?
I don't think HBO Max is doing that. I think that's only a Disney.
See, then it's even more compelled to go see it in the theater and spend the money, because I want them to make the second one. Right.
Well, even if it is I'm just saying, even if it is a paid thing, I'm going to pay for it, obviously.
I was going to say, if it's a paid on HBO Max, I would like to attempt to pay for that, but also, in addition to that, go to the theater and pay for it, because I really want them, like I said.
Well, you could just buy a ticket to the theater and not use it.
That's true.
If you want to juke the stats,
that's true. Could do that.
It feels sort of stupid to argue, or not argue, but to be upset about this kind of thing, because a lot of other people are suffering a lot more than we are. Yeah, I can't go to a movie I want to see in the theater. Poor fucking me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is disappointing. But it's mostly disappointing because of the general idea that some people are just dicks and are ruining it for everybody else. So
Right.
this is why we can't have nice things because of you.
I mean, we were on a trajectory to get out of this.
Yeah, we
And
don't want to go back down this road again because we're
right.
already veering towards COVID
Okay.
town again. We don't want to.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, so the Dune trailer gives me hope that the Dune movie, because I'm skeptical of anyone who tries to tackle this movie of this project. It just
Sure.
seems difficult.
Sure.
I'm skeptical in the sense that not that they're not up to it talent wise or will, they have the strength of will, but it's a really difficult book to make into a movie, and so. It's a difficult book to translate to any medium. I mean, it's a great book, and it's a great audiobook, by the way, if you want to go that way, Joe.
oh, is it?
I would
Okay.
I would actually listen to the audiobook if you're at all put off by reading this whole thing.
Is it done
'cause
by a cast or is it one narrator? Just curious.
it's one narrator, but why do I keep thinking it's Roy Dotrice? But it's somebody like that. It's really well
okay.
done.
Maybe I'll do that. Yeah.
I would say if you can, because here's what it does for you, and I don't know if this just happened for me because I've already read the book a bunch of times, but it helps enhance the things that you were maybe like having trouble with before, or for me, it does
Okay.
at least. Like, oh, that concept makes more sense when somebody reads it to you.
Gotcha.
So it's a good way to go. But honestly, I'm a huge fan of audiobooks, as we've talked about before, and I think
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
they're almost in some ways better than me trying to read because I get distracted more when I'm reading sometimes, and so this I can listen to and actually concentrate on more for some reason. So I would say if you want to get into Dune, maybe listen to the audiobook first, and then you can always go back and read the book too.
Sure.
I have like 12. I have like 12 copies if you need one. So
Nice.
I
Excellent.
don't know why I have so many copies of Dune. I also have a very coveted item, the Dune Encyclopedia,
Ooh, nice.
which I saw on eBay for like $300 the other day. I don't know why I was looking for something else, but I have that, and I've been looking through it, going, "Oh, it's really cool." It's an encyclopedia of all the terms and all the terminology and all the characters and all the and everything in all the books. It's like tells you who's the Landsraad, who's the Emperor, what's Shaddam the Fourth, who's Paul, who's this, what's the history of the Muad'Dib, what's the history of this.
Huh.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm sure it's still available.
Arrakis. I just remember
But
that from the Lynch movie Arrakis. The narration, the spice, Arrakis. It was always like, are we on a trip right now? Wait, what?
Well, I mean, I'm sure David Lynch enjoys a psychedelic now and again. Maybe not.
Sure, he does.
No, that guy's totally straight. Come on.
Yeah.
Straight in the sense that he's sober, not
Yeah, right.
not his sexual preferences, because I don't care. He can have sex with whoever he wants. But I'm not sure why I'm talking about David Lynch having sex, but there you go.
Well, that's where this show goes.
Where this
sometimes.
eventually goes. First, you got a dog carrying a human's hand, and then you've got
Yes, exactly.
that's what's missing from the Dune trailer: a dog with a human hand in it.
Right, right. That would sell it right away.
That is a very specific reference. We must be a David Lynch fan to know that one.
Exactly.
Sorry, folks. Now that I've said that, I'm not 100% sure that's Blue Velvet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was. I couldn't remember. I'm getting slower and dumber in my old age, but
Yeah, that's right.
in my dotage, as they say. I just do that for Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet is an interesting guy because he was. Did you see that Little Women, the new adaptation of Little Women?
No.
Oh, he was great in that. I mean, I really like him. I think he's a fine actor, and the girls like him, and the boys like him too.
So here's how old I am, because I've been sitting here thinking about this, and I was like, as I said earlier, my initial reticence towards this was like, well, the guy playing Paul is just way too young. But I'm pretty sure Kyle MacLachlan was about the same age when he did Lynch's Dune. So see, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kyle MacLachlan always seemed like old to me. Like
Yeah.
he seemed very mature, even when he was young, even like in Blue Velvet or in whatever when he first started out. But yeah, I mean, we can
I
find
think
yeah,
he was in mid to late 20s when he did Dune, and Timothy is-
Chalamet is 25
Yeah.
now, so he was probably 23 when they made the movie.
Yeah.
But that's Paul's supposed to be in his 20s. That makes sense.
Right,
They actually
right.
cast
So-
age appropriate, and Zendaya is about the same. I think she's a little bit younger. I think she's really good as Chani. She's very has that sort of look, I think, of the Fremen,
Yeah.
and they're kind of keeping with that because Javier Bardem is Stilgar, who's like the leader of the Fremen, and it kind of makes sense. Um, but yeah, I think she's going to be great, and I think that I want to see Javier what he does with Stilgar. Stilgar is a great character. He's like almost like the unsung. I don't want to say unsung hero, but he's a big deal in the book, and I kind of want to see what he does with him. I think he's going to bring him a lot of gravitas, which I appreciate because
Yes.
he's a cool guy. So because Javier Bardem is awesome. So yeah, I think the the idea that I think Momoa will be good, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always liked Josh Brolin. I think he'll be good.
Well, Duncan, Idaho even seemed like kind of more the looser in the ones I've seen. Seemed kind of like the looser, more easygoing character. So having Jason Momoa play him makes perfect sense.
Well, he is. He's like out there, having fun and doing
Right,
whatever.
right. And Josh
Let's see.
Brolin, Gurney is more,
He's
serious.
the serious, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they
Well,
cast well.
Gurney's the guy you bring in. He's like the guy to. He's like the weapons master and the combat master. He knows how to fight and kill, and he's like all about killing the enemy, basically. And that's what's great about him. And so I don't know Stephen McKinley Henderson. I don't know who that guy is, but he plays Thufir.
So even now, since I mentioned it earlier, even Game of Thrones pulls from Dune because
Sure.
what's his name? Sean Bean's character. See, I can't remember names. Ned brings in this guy to train Arya in hand-to-hand combat with swords. I mean, they don't have personal shields and stuff, but he's
The
also
dancing
kind
master.
of the same. Like, I'm gonna make you, get you so you can protect yourself and make you a warrior. So that's like right out of Dune, right there. So
Well, right.
see?
Plus all the great houses. The house.
Yeah. So
all this-
a lot of things are,
Well, it's a very influential book. I don't know if you're familiar. It's a very influential book.
I've heard of it. It's,
Yeah, it's considered a classic in this.
was it Herb somebody that wrote it?
Herb Frankfurt?
Yes. Yes.
That guy. No, Frank.
So this is based on a book, is what you're saying? Okay. All right.
I wouldn't necessarily. You were talking about the other books. I wouldn't necessarily. After Children of Dune, I kind of would stop if it were me.
It's like Dune, Chapter House, and Children are like the ones that everyone's like.
I wouldn't
read those, and you're good.
read the Frank Herbert ones, but even honestly, once you get done with Dune and go on to the next one, it's not as good. There's definitely a fall off, in my opinion. And the ones written by his kid, and everything, which are fine. It's just
That to
they're not
me
the same.
read like total exploitation because there's been like 18 books written by his kid and Kevin J. Anderson. I'm like, is that? I just always
well, they
felt
wouldn't
weird
they
about
wouldn't
that.
keep doing them if people weren't buying them, though, right? So it's
Sure,
like,
but it's just kind
are
of
they
like-
satisfying a need or
We're
what?
gonna make a lot of money off of this because people will read these. We could do a book on some minor character from the first book that was mentioned once. We could do a whole trilogy on them, and people will buy it. And it just seems like a little exploitative, but I don't know.
I mean, I guess, but they're not.
I don't have
poorly
to read
written.
them,
They're,
so I
they're not
guess.
poorly written. I mean, he's a decent writer.
Yeah, but
His in some ways, his writing is a little bit more accessible than his dad's writing a little bit. But I mean, the problem is your dad's Frank Herbert, and what are you going to do with your life? I mean, if you're going to become a writer, you're always going to be compared to him, no matter what. Just like if your dad's Stephen King, you're going to be compared to Stephen King for your entire life. It's going to be hard to overcome that.
I would argue that the Brian Herbert books are more accessible because Kevin J. Anderson co-writes them, and he's a really good writer. But
No, that was what I was saying because the Frank Herbert books are less so, and the ones that he's doing the sequels, I think are more popular. If it went like more pop versions of Dune,
Yeah.
they're more accessible stories. They're more mainstream stories. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Because I don't think that Frank Herbert set out to make a giant epic, I don't think he set out to make a giant epic story that people are going to talk about today. I think he was trying to tell a story that he was trying to tell, and it took a lot of words.
right.
And he didn't anticipate, I'm sure, that we'd still be talking about it right now. So
I wonder if he felt like he had to write more, so that's why he did the sequels.
well, I think he had more story to tell, but
Oh,
I don't know.
all right.
I mean, the book blew up, so they probably, even back then, like, well, people want to make money, of course. Publishers want to make money, right? So
Yeah. Fair enough.
anyway, Fair enough. But yeah, I'm on board. Of course, I will watch any version of Dune, probably just to see how they go. But this definitely, from a visual standpoint and from a
Yeah.
director standpoint, I've liked every movie that this director's ever made,
Yep.
and so I
Why
I I,
not? I'm on
I
board.
feel like he's probably going to do a good job.
Yes, I
Did
think
you
so.
like Did you like Blade Runner 2049?
I liked it a lot, and
Yeah.
we should talk about that someday. But I don't think I've seen anyone else that has liked it as much as I did. But hey, whatever. That's okay.
I liked it a lot. It's just my problem is I love Blade Runner, the original, so much, and we've talked
Yes.
about this before. I think, just I thought, I don't know why. It's a movie that resonates with me so much, and I've seen it so many times, and it came along when I was younger. So I think the things you watch when you're younger also stick with you longer, maybe.
Yes. Absolutely.
So we used to, I'm not a great person sometimes. We used to cut school a lot when I was a kid, like in high school, and so we'd go to my friend's Rob's house and we'd watch Blade Runner.
Right.
Like we go get breakfast and we go to my friend's house. We watch Blade Runner and we watch like James Bond movies. Live and Let Die was one of our
Oh
favorites.
yeah. James Bond and
But
Godzilla movies are what I watched
but
as a kid all the time.
every time, like when Deckard goes to interview what's her face? Oh my God,
Rachel.
Rachel? Thank you.
Yeah.
At Tyrell Corporation, and he pushes the button and the thing comes down to close off the sun a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
like, I still love that scene. I don't know why. It's like, wow, that is cool. And like then they cut to the close up of Deckard and it's like the things going down on his face. It's just like, I mean, like this is an amazing movie. Ridley Scott is an amazing filmmaker,
Yes.
obviously. And of course Alien was an amazing movie. And anyway, the point is that I've watched Blade Runner hundreds of times and I liked Blade Runner 2049 and I liked it very much, but it just couldn't, I was never going to react to it the same way. So watching
No.
this
I mean,
trailer, I'm like, will I love this as much as I hope I do?
well, so like for in the instance of Blade Runner, you've already been introduced to that world. So it's not going to be something that is going to be like, wow, this is amazing because of this world. So here's the thing. I mean, Blade Runner was a movie that didn't need a sequel, but if you're going to do a sequel to Blade Runner, you do it 30 years later, like they did with Blade Runner 2049, in my opinion, because that was like, I don't know, and I've always said if you're going to do a sequel or a continuation of something, you need to do something different. You don't just need to retell the first story in different trappings, and I don't think they did that at all in Blade Runner 2049. They did something different with it. They pushed it, they expanded it, and I don't know. I thought it was great, and there was enough that touched back to the first movie that was great, and following up on Deckard, and I don't know. I thought it was done smartly instead of like just being a whole movie of Deckard again and what was going on, and they didn't.
Yeah, they
I don't
couldn't have
know.
done that. Harrison
Yeah.
Ford would have been like, "Nah,
And
I'm not doing
and
that."
I also think if you're gonna have someone do it, that they picked the right director. I mean, it felt like the same world to me. It looked like the same world, but we got to see more of it
More,
instead of just
yeah,
the city.
yeah.
So
Well, he's definitely a visual. Yeah,
yeah,
I would agree with you. It looked like this was Los Angeles 2019, and then next door was all this other shit happening that was easily
right,
happening
right,
in the same time or similar time, 30 years later or whatever. And the continuation with Tyrell to Jared Leto's character, and all that, and the evolution of the replicants, and I mean, yeah, it all made sense from a story standpoint. And I liked almost all of it, but my point, I guess, is that I'm never gonna feel like we talked about with Star Wars a million times. I'm never gonna watch any other Star Wars movie, and it's never gonna seem the same
yeah,
to me
no,
as the first one. And so
exactly,
that's an unfair standard. So when it's unfair to every other Star Wars movie, although Empire is still the best, but that's another story. So when I look at this trailer, I'm like, that looks pretty close to what I also frame things like what would I do too, because I can't help
right,
myself.
yeah, of course,
So how would I realize Dune as a movie? And I thought about it a lot over the years, and so this looks pretty close to what I might do to the movie.
yeah,
So we'll see. I'm hoping. I have high hopes, high expectations,
yes,
and I don't think I'll be disappointed. There'll probably be like many things. I'll be like, cringeworthy moments occasionally. Like, I got to be honest, I love the whole idea of comedy, but
I'm just
I
gonna
don't know.
say right
I don't
now,
know. I don't know that that fits with the movie.
if
I'm
there's not
sorry.
a shirtless Sting in it, I'm gonna be horribly
There will
disappointed.
not be
I'm
a
just
shirtless,
saying.
but there might be a shirtless Momoa for the ladies,
I'm sure there will because he can't
or the
help.
gentleman.
But well, yeah, I mean,
It's fine. It's no problem. No judgments here. It's a judgment-free show.
I'm okay with it. So I'm just saying. But
Yeah, he does feature prominently, but it all makes
yes,
sense from a marketing standpoint. It's a Warner Brothers movie. They're
yeah,
marketing because when is Aquaman? Aquaman just started filming Aquaman 2,
yes, yes.
so
No,
there you go. And that,
yeah, I mean, it's obviously visually different than any other Dune production. But yeah, to the point we're making with Blade Runner, it has a little bit distinction of it's not a sequel to anything. It's like this is a new version of this. So,
right.
um,
Yeah,
I
some people are asking. Some people are asking online, is this a remake of the David Lynch version of YouTube of Dune? Like, yes, it is a remake of David Lynch's version.
yes, that's what that is.
Yes, that's what it is.
Because again,
So
I was joking earlier, going, "Oh, this is from a book." I'm going to tell you, there's a percentage of people that are going to come into this, and like, what a book? Why isn't this look like David Lynch's movie? Why
well,
is
yeah,
it
and
different?
also people are going to be pissed off that they're stealing from Star Wars, of course. Like I said.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
It's
so
like someone watched Star Wars and Game of Thrones and decided to make a space movie. It's like,
right.
okay,
Yeah, the biggest difference between this and Star Wars is this is set in the future, and Star Wars is in the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's the
yes,
difference.
that's
This is in the future, 26,300 and something
yeah,
AD. So
yes,
there you go.
yeah,
After a huge war of machines and some other shit goes horrible. I think there's like AI wars or something. I don't even remember the history, but I'm sure that we'll find out. I'm actually, we were talking about that Benny Gesserit show. I'm totally down with that because that sounds really interesting.
yeah,
Like they're like Jedi. I mean, they're basically the Jedi. So
exactly.
they go off and influence history and topple regimes and all kinds of
They're
stuff.
even better
So,
than the Jedi because they're like, yeah, we'll totally be involved and we will kill people. We don't
oh
care.
yeah, we will kill people if that's what's required.
What's in the box? No. Oh wait, that's a different movie. But there is a box with a
But there
hand
is a
and stuff.
box. There is the
Yeah,
Gom Jabbar
yeah,
too. Yeah, which is a big deal. Yeah. So anyway, the one other question I have about this is because it's Dune is kind of the book is kind of like I don't want to say Muslim in some ways. There's a lot of like Islam in it, kind of. It's sort of interwoven in the book a lot with
yes,
the religion and stuff of the Fremen in particular. So I wonder how they'll touch on that in the movie because it's probably more of a sensitive thing now, like people's portrayal of their religion. I don't know. I bet there'll be people who are upset about that
sure, yeah.
if it's referenced or if it's because there's a lot of it in the book. So we'll see. I mean, again, I hope that I can go to the theater, but I'm going to be there on day one either way. So
I'm watching this day one, and like you, yeah, exactly like you. I hope it's in the theater, but yeah, I'm glad I'll have the opportunity to be able to watch it either way. So,
there you go.
yep,
So see it, kids.
yes,
Don't be afraid.
yes.
Well, I mean,
Well, go get vaccinated, then go see it. Okay.
or just watch it at home. That's fine too.
Or yeah, that. But either way, watch it,
Oh,
especially that first
the
week.
only other question I wanted to ask you about this was where do you think they're going to break the story? But
Um,
since you haven't read the book, it might be harder to know.
I have an opinion, but I don't know if it's a spoiler. Well, I guess I think it's going to be when so I'm trying to think back. So when all right, spoiler. So when Leto gets killed,
Well, you don't have to say that. Oh my god, that's too big a spoiler.
is it?
I would have just said
Sorry.
I would have said something like
When
when the Harkonnens and the Atreides fight on
yes,
they
because
come
that's
back.
basically when Paul
Yeah, yeah.
flees to the desert, right?
Right,
So
when Paul flees to the desert, yeah,
yeah. So I
and
think that's going to
meets
be yeah.
meets the sandworms face to
Sorry for the
face.
spoiler, but I mean, come on. People have seen the
Yeah,
movie
I
or
know.
read the book.
I hope so, but yeah,
But I think that's where the divide is going to be. That's going to be the I don't want to say cliffhanger, but that's going to be the big dramatic ending.
well, it's a good. I mean, it's not necessarily midpoint, but it's a good place where Paul goes to the
Yeah.
desert, and like the last scene of the first movie is the Fremen like just appearing.
Yeah, because that could be, I mean, then that would give me an idea that we're going to spend a lot more time exploring the Fremen and the desert
Yeah,
life in the second movie, which is, I think, a good thing.
Well, they do spend a lot of time with the Fremen in the second movie, in the book for sure.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
it'll be the scene where
It'll be slow motion and blah blah blah. And
right, it'll be the scene where Jessica and Paul are in the desert and the Fremen try to sneak up on them, but
yes,
Jessica takes Stilgar hostage, and that's the end. And
yes,
Chani will just appear out of nowhere, out of the thing, and that'll be the end. That'll
yeah,
be where they cut.
yeah,
That's my prediction. They'll
exactly.
cut on Chani. Welcome to Arrakis, Paul, or whatever.
Yes,
And that's it. And she'll hand him her hand to pick him up,
exactly.
and
Yes.
that's the last. He'll look up at her, and that's the cut. That's the fade to black.
Jessica will have Stilgar at knife point, and
At
then
knife point.
it'll cut to an empty part right by them, and Shawnee will come down and do the Black Widow landing,
There
and
you
then
go. Flourish.
yes,
She'll do the superhero landing, and then
she'll look up she'll look up, flipping her hair back, and go,
there you
"Welcome to Arrakis, Paul."
welcome to Arrakis, bitch.
See,
No,
this
dude,
is
I'm
why we
telling-
shouldn't be allowed to make things.
I'm telling you, she's gonna come off the cliff and be backlit, and she'll just come into focus, and then
Yes.
they'll cut back to Paul, and he'll look up at her, and she'll come up to him and go and reach her hand down to pick him up, to
Yes.
lift him up to his eventual position of leadership.
Yes.
And that's the end of of the movie.
Yep, exactly.
If that's not the final shot of Dune #1,
Then I'm not seeing the second one.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Which is
I'll be
honestly
horribly
probably-
disappointed. I'll write a sternly worded letter.
I will write a sternly worded email to Denis Villeneuve and say,
Yes.
dude, what's up with that?
Missed opportunity. Come on.
Missed opportunity. But I mean, that is a great stopping point. So,
And there will be
sees
lots of
Paul realizes that Shani is not just in his head; she's real.
right.
Done.
And then
to
added
black.
humor will be constant references from Duncan, Idaho about how he's used to swimming in the water and stuff like. There'll be Aquaman references.
Right.
jokes.
Yeah. I miss Caladan because I was in the water a lot. you know.
Yeah, I was
Now
like
it's too-
I was like king of the water there.
It's so dry
Wink,
here.
wink.
My skin is all dry. I need more. Could you rub some lotion on me?
See again why we shouldn't make things.
Could you oil me up a bit, Paul? That's not awkward, right?
No, that's
Gurney, get the lube. All right.
Gurney will do it. And, Gurney making constant references about, I'm going to snap. I tell you what. So,
Exactly. He's like, it's inevitable that we're going to be destroyed by the Harkonnen. That's what he's going to say.
and,
Sorry,
and,
dude.
and Leto will, talk about how much he misses his droid. So,
Oh, BB-8. There are no droids in this.
because they were all destroyed, and so was his.
Don't
and
ruin it.
see, I'm
Yeah, this
telling you,
takes.
we shouldn't
This
race.
is actually, honestly, this is actually the eventual. What this really is a sequel to Star Wars, right?
Right.
Because Star Wars takes place in a long time ago, and Arrakis is actually Tatooine, so it's all connected, man.
Here's what's going to happen. Somebody out there or a group of somebodies is going to go to great lengths to explain and show how Dune, this movie, is actually the true version of Rise of Skywalker and the ultimate sequel that we should have gotten.
That's an interesting take. Is that a hot take? I don't know.
That's a hot take. That's what's the thing that's popular now? State an unpopular opinion or something like that.
Changed my mind.
Yeah, Dune is actually the true Rise of Skywalker version. Changed my mind.
Changed my
yeah.
mind. Bet me.
I'm starting that now. So
I think it's great. I'm totally down with that. So you watched the original Avengers movie?
I did.
recently. I don't know why that matters. It does matter. I mean, it matters that you watched it. I'm not trying to be facetious.
Sure.
I also watched it recently too, which is
kinda
interesting.
funny.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think because of Loki, also because it's a Loki centric movie, right? He's the main villain, or at least the main antagonist. But the greater evil is, I guess, Thanos technically, right? In that. So, why did you watch it? Just
So
out of curiosity.
here's why I watched it, and it was just a dumb reason because recently through Google Play, my digital copy got upgraded to 4K, and I was like, I just kind of curious to see how it looks on my. I probably have watched it before, but for some reason I thought I hadn't. I'm like, I just want to see how clean and how good it looks in 4K on my 4K TV.
And how did it look?
And so I was like, okay, I'll just start it and watch like the first few minutes of it and be good. And then, as I told you pre-show, 2 hours later, I was like, wow, that looked really good. I ended up
Yeah,
just
that was fun.
watching the whole thing. Uh,
So
so,
many stairs. Okay.
so no, it looks great, and it was really fun watching it again because it's just like, wow, this is, you know, it's 9 years old at least, and it just looked great, and it's just well written and well done. Even though I know it's popular to hate on Joss Whedon, he does know how to tell a story well, and he does know how to put together a movie.
Right.
Um, and
He's good. He's good at ensemble stuff. He's
yeah,
good at building a group,
yeah,
which is why
and
he was good at this. I mean, he was
yeah.
great for the Avengers, I thought. So
So it was just it was really fun watching it and seeing, Loki. We'd only seen Loki prior to that in Thor, and that was it. And seeing some of the characters in their early days, and before they became a team, they're arguing and fighting, and a lot of that was because of the scepter. But seeing how much Cap was new to the world, especially this world, and not really a fan of Tony Stark, and how they just kind of all, I don't know, it was really well put
yeah,
together.
I mean,
So
that's the thing that people sometimes forget. Maybe is that they've spent all this time building these characters because you just mentioned it exactly right. It's the way they come together here and how they evolve towards the end, where especially Tony in a way,
yeah,
and Cap too, but Tony in particular is a selfish, egotistical jerk in this movie. Basically, he's like, "I'm
yeah,
Tony Stark, genius, philanthropist, playboy, whatever."
he's trying to prod Banner into turning into the Hulk and all this kind of, it's
Yeah,
just
he's an
like,
asshole,
yeah, but he's right.
and
That's the thing. That's the thing that rubbed everyone wrong, was he was right in
he
everything.
wanted a suit of armor around the world.
But
He said all the
I
time.
mean, there's even like foreshadowing, like Cap saying, "You're not the kind of guy to lay down on the wire so that people can
Yeah,
go over you and stuff." And it's like, and he turns out, even with his big play in this one with a nuclear bomb, it's like, all right, he's willing to go that far. So it's like totally makes sense in Endgame that he's like, well, this is my ticket punched, but it's okay because I'm going to save everybody. So
right. Well, yeah, that kind of thing is set up here, which is the great thing about it. The arcs continue
yeah,
all the way through to the end, and they pay off. And they pay off a lot of stuff in Endgame that has been set up. I think you could argue was set up in the first Avengers, but it was set up in the first Iron Man movie.
yeah, and there's a
I
great,
mean,
great
if
line.
you look at Tony Stark from Iron Man and
Yep,
Tony Stark from Endgame, there's definitely
a throughput.
definitely, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
There's a great line with Loki and Black Widow, Natasha, that sets up the Black Widow movie. I mean,
Yeah, Dreykov's daughter, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it was really good.
Well,
It
I know,
paid,
but Dreykov's in the comics too. It's not like
sure, but it pays
just
off a
pulled that
lot
out of
of
their
things
it
down
does.
the road. It sets up a lot of things. Yeah, I know that, Iron Man and Thor and Captain America and even Hulk to a certain extent kind of set up stuff prior to that, but I get a sense, having watched this now with everything else, that Avengers really was a touchstone and starting point for a lot of stuff that happened later. So it was
Definitely, and
really
I
cool.
would make the case that they weren't 100% sure. Like I don't think they sat in the room and go, "Oh, this is what's going to happen in Endgame." I
No,
mean,
no, no,
maybe
no. I think
they had an
Feige had a
idea.
lot of it in his head and maybe
Yeah, I
written
mean, I'm sure
down. But
they had an idea, but it's like we're not sure exactly how this is going to evolve because there's a lot of other writers involved and everything. But at some point, I mean, because even in this movie, Thanos is a thing, and at some point there'll be the Infinity Stones, and at some point there'll be the Infinity Gauntlet, and at some
yeah,
point there'll be
right.
an evil, for the war. And but there'll be civil war along the way. There'll be then we'll have scrolls and we'll have this, we'll have that. But yeah,
Well,
it's a
yeah.
really
I mean,
fully
I don't
realized
think they
thing. It's
knew
awesome.
all the way through to the end, and purposefully. I think they added a lot of things into this movie that they were like, okay, now that we've pointed at these things, how are we going to pay them off? And they kind of wrote stories from there.
Yeah.
But
Or
it's
or
really
I'm
good.
wrong, and they had it all planned out because
Maybe,
even
yeah,
in this one when Loki disappears, I'm sure someone said, "Whoa, where did he go?"
right.
Now we
No,
can
no,
have a
he
whole
goes
TV
back
show
to
that shows.
Asgard with Thor at the end of this one.
Does he?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
yeah, because they have the whole scene at the end of the movie where they both hold
Oh,
on
yeah.
to the thing and they get transported back to Asgard.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
The whole thing in the lobby
But what about
happens.
variant? But what about variant Loki?
Yeah, but that happens in Endgame.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Endgame. We were talking about. Yeah, we were talking about. You're right. God, I'm stupid.
No, it's okay. No, I think so. But
I'm
now
getting.
it
I'm
makes
getting.
me
I
want to
got
watch
them.
some
I
of the
got
other
them all
movies.
twisted. I got them all twisted up.
But the other thing too that was especially poignant for me watching this is that, like you said, this is where they don't necessarily get along or necessarily even like each other. But then there's this whole development of, by the next Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, where they are, a team. They're still squabbling, but then everything that's kind of built and started in this movie makes Civil War even more poignant and
Yeah.
important, because all this, we've had these number of movies where they built this team and built these friendships, and it all comes apart in Civil War,
Yeah.
and that kind of leads to their undoing. So
I mean, I feel like Civil War was sort of an Avengers movie too, in a way.
yeah,
'Cause
it really was.
basically all the Avengers are in it for the most part. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
but they couldn't do another Avengers movie. I guess they probably, because I mean, they bring in Spider-Man. They bring.
I
There's a
know
lot
they
of
have
stuff in Civil
everybody in
War.
it
It's like,
pretty much, so it's like,
yeah.
okay.
Except Doctor Strange. I guess he's in his other in Captain Marvel.
People were calling it Avengers 2.0 because
Avengers 2.0.
yeah.
I'm disappointed in myself that I got confused with that.
That's all right.
Because I was like, I watched all this sort of Loki adjacent things for the Loki show, and also so we could talk about Loki. And then that's in an entirely different movie. So anyway, whatever,
Yeah.
fine, because it has Pierce in it, right? He doesn't show up until later, so
Right.
he doesn't show up until.
I also want to watch
Civil War, so.
like some of the ones before Avengers, because I realize most of my rewatches lately of Marvel movies have been more current and leading into Civil War, or not Civil War, but Infinity War and Endgame. And I have, it's been a long time since I've watched, like, say, Iron Man 2 or even the first Thor movie. And so it's like, I want to revisit those as well.
The first Thor movie is interesting. I've watched Ragnarok a lot, and I've
Yeah.
watched Iron Man. I recently watched, although I sort of, at this point, I kind of fast forward through the parts where he's like in the cave. Tony Stark did this with a box of scraps. Oh, anyway. Jeff Bridges was good in that movie though, but
Yeah,
he was a really good bad guy. I mean, he does that thing with Tony on the couch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, he's totally a bad guy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2 is cool because you get Mickey Rourke in that one.
Yeah. Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3 is okay. It's just it's
liked
okay.
it.
It's fine. But it's not my favorite. You know what? The first Avengers though is still a really good one because it helps get the team together. And unfortunately, like we talked about when we were talking about in the pre-show about Coulson, about whether he
Dies or not. Yeah.
dies or not. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder. You think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon, but I wonder if it is. So, oh well.
It is. Who cares? It is if you want it to be. I mean,
It is if you want it to be. Well, again, he did come back in Captain Marvel, although that was older or
Yeah, it was
younger person,
flashbacks.
but
Yeah.
flashbacks. So,
Or-
or was it flashbacks or just it
it
took
was
place
back in the
that time?
90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
So,
the Avengers was one of those movies that I was like, I can't believe I'm seeing this movie. It's like, this is, Avengers, and yeah, we had the previous individual movies, but it was like, will they actually get to the point where they have an Avengers movie and have them team up? And we did, and it was so great. So
Yeah, I was like, even Tony makes this joke a few times, like we're the Avengers, we're not the pre-Avengers.
yeah,
It was sort of funny that the group called the Avengers, but then something bad has to happen first, right? So they have to.
when he's talking to Loki, he's like, the Avengers, and he kind of rolls his eyes. And he's like, that's what we're calling ourselves.
That's what we're calling it. It's like,
Yeah.
the Strategic Homeland Initiative, blah blah blah. You guys need an acronym.
Yeah.
So.
And the whole, well, Loki, I have an army. Is like, we have a Hulk, which that line gets played up later in other places. It's just like, there's so much groundwork laid in this movie that it's just
Even
really
Loki
good.
says that later.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. He says that to Thanos in Infinity
We
War.
have a Hulk.
We have a Hulk. Yeah, I mean,
Which didn't really help. Unfortunately,
no. It turns out that was not the advantage that he thought it was.
Hulk was not at his best.
No, and then he pouted for a while.
I found that interesting that they took the Hulk and kind of did that to him because he's in theory extremely powerful, right? And can just
He gets more
beat the
powerful
crap.
the angrier he gets. So,
Right. So taking him out of the game, the only way to really do that would be to have the whole idea that he and Banner are constantly battling for supremacy, and that Hulk does not want to come out now.
right.
Do you think he was pouting, or do you think he was just?
I think he was
They have
scared.
yeah, I think he was. He's never
Yeah.
been beaten before, right?
Right,
So they
exactly.
they have a very complicated relationship, and the idea it was all, of course, leading to Smart Hulk, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
that made sense. But yeah, getting back to the first Avengers, it's definitely a cool way to introduce people. You get Loki more front and center,
Yep.
and you get to meet Hawkeye kind of for the first time,
Yeah.
which I guess is cool.
Well, it's kind of weird because you meet Hawkeye for the first time and he's immediately taken over. It's like, wait,
Well,
what?
that is kind of weird. Yeah, that happened kind of fast, but
Yeah.
it's not like Budapest. It's like different. But
Yeah. You and I remember Budapest very differently. That was the other thing of Black Widow I liked is a little argument over Budapest or Budapest. That was pretty
Yeah.
funny too. So anyway,
well, and when they were in the safe house, they're talking about are those bullet holes? No, those are like arrow holes. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly.
It's Budapest.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, Black Widow was cool. I liked that a lot. I
But
want to watch that again.
First Avengers movie lays a lot of groundwork that is paid off later, and just still, 24 movies in, and it still feels like it doesn't feel old to me, and I'm still excited for what's to come. So
Yeah, I liked it. There was a lot of good parts. It's definitely a fun movie. And you're right. It was nice to see all these characters together. There's some good jokes. There's some good like throwaway humor.
Yeah.
Cap's like I get that reference. But one of my favorite is Banner hands him like $1 or whatever. Nothing you can do is surprise me or something like that because he's like now he's surprised that they're in a
no, that
ship
was Lynch or not Lynch. Fury telling. Talking to Captain America, and he's like, "Yeah, nothing surprised me." He's like, "You want to bet $10 on that?" And then Cap hands him, just walks by him and hands him $10. It was
right.
like,
that was definitely a Joss Whedon moment for sure.
But it was great. It was a nice little character moment, and it really added dimensionality to all the characters in this movie, especially. So.
Well, yeah, you got to humanize them. They're not just superheroes. They're people.
He did go a little far with, and that guy's playing Galaga, and then later the guy is playing Galaga on,
He was.
It was like, all right, that's maybe a little.
Well, that was right before some bad stuff happened.
Right.
So you needed a little humor break, right?
Exactly. It's like we're gonna have humor, and then we're gonna blow up and kill a bunch of people. So.
Right. Exactly. So, anyway, so yeah, I feel like we talked about Dune a lot.
We did.
For just a trailer. Imagine when the movie comes out. We'll only shut up about it.
Well, we'll have to do a 2-part episode for a 2-part.
I see what you did there. That's funny.
See? Yeah.
I think the movie will definitely warrant some discussion.
Yes.
But, I mean, the thing is, it's as we've talked about already, it's a book that came out a long time ago, and it's been made into a movie and a miniseries and another miniseries sequel.
Yeah.
So it's been discussed a lot. And so
Yes.
what can you and I bring to the table? I don't know. We'll find out.
We will find out. Yes.
The movie is coming soon. It's
October.
What is it?
Yep.
We're in July now, so
Yeah. It'll be here
few
before
months.
too long.
Before too long, hopefully everything will be not just from a I'd like to go to the movies standpoint, but from a standpoint of people shouldn't get sick and die. Try to stop it as much as possible.
I'd
Hopefully
like
things
to
will
see
get
the
better.
world be a little bit more stable by then.
I like to buy the world of Coke. Is what it comes down
There
to.
we go.
Probably
What
not
would the
really
tab
Coke,
be
but-
on that, I wonder? Anyway.
I don't know. Yeah, they never talk about that, do they?
No. I mean,
I want to buy the world of Coke. Well, you're buying the world one Coke, so it's like $2.
Boy, everybody take a really small sip.
Well, that's what the song is. I'd like to buy the world of Coke, right?
A
Not
Coke.
just-
I would not.
Yeah,
I would
sing-
like to buy
singular.
everybody a Coke. You're just buying a Coke
Right.
for the planet.
right.
Not even for the
Exactly.
people. You're just buying a Coke for the planet itself.
Right, that's right. You say the world, so it's not like a person.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're pouring one out for the planet. is what you're saying.
Yeah, there you go. On the planet. You're going to pour one out for the
Honestly,
planet
that's
on the
probably a
planet.
better use of that soft drink
Probably.
than putting it down your gob. 'cause
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of soda, but I don't think it's really great for you, as it turns out. So
Yeah. So
that's a tangent. Sorry. See, we only had only one tangent today.
that's pretty amazing. I'm surprised.
Well, we kind of veered off into COVID world again for a minute, but that's it's hard. It's hard not to.
Hey,
It's still-
we encompass a lot of things in this podcast, is what we're saying.
we contain multitudes.
Yes. Well,
you go.
all right. So,
So find the Flickcast at Apple Podcasts, at Spotify, at Google Podcasts, and all that kind of stuff. You can find Joe at What Joe Writes, and me at Chris U, and the Flickcast at the Flickcast, coincidentally. And
Weird.
the Patreon is patreon.com/theflickcast, and all those other things. So yeah, hit us up, give us some likes and reviews, or even a star rating on Apple Podcasts if you want to. It's still hovering close to 5, but it's not quite at 5, which is
Crush
fine.
those stars. Oh, wait.
Crush those stars. And you know what though? I think if it was all 5 stars, I'd kind of feel like we have nothing to work for. So it's good if it's not perfect, because it gives us something to strive for.
Exactly.
And you need something to strive for in life. Otherwise, you're going to be complacent.
Right. We don't want to do that with this. So.
No one wants to be complacent. I don't. Anyway, any final thoughts or anything?
No. Drink your Ovaltine and go get vaccinated. Yeah.
Stay in school.
Stay in school. Study hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Study hard. That's right. Dab. Oh no, that's
yes.
That's a Smart Hulk reference, everyone.
Very nice. Well done.
Sometimes my references are extremely specific.
I understood that reference. Yes.
I understood that reference. So. All right, for Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks so much for listening.